Welcome back once again. At this point in time, an order has now been issued over nnamdi Kanu's pardon. Sincerely speaking, this is coming after Justice James Omotosho issued a judgment against nnamdi Kanu and sentenced nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment. As we speak recently, notwithstanding that nnamdi Kanu has now been transferred from the Abuja prison to Sokoto prison just to frustrate his appeal. As if that is not enough, for you to see the frustration nnamdi Kanu is going through, as you could see, they have handed him over brooms and other appliances for him to actually, other implements for him to actually take up other cause with other prisoners. And as a matter of fact, other northerners in the prison had interactions with him and other warders. They knew that nnamdi Kanu is intelligent. As you could see on your screen, that shows you that they are trying to frustrate nnamdi Kanu so that he's not going to have his appeal, and that appeal is not going to hold. One will begin to ask, what on earth is really happening? I'm going to be showing you what a lawmaker had come out recently to state. Now, as if that is not enough, a warder came out recently and stated, I am a prison guard in Sokoto, and I can tell you for free that nnamdi Kanu is the wisest man and I have ever met in my life. He carries divine wisdom, the wisdom of Allah himself. He continued, each time I speak with him, I feel like I am speaking with a man far ahead of this generation. I'm going to be leaving you with what this particular lawmaker stated recently without any fear nor favor, stating that nnamdi Kanu has been held unjustly. As a matter of fact, this is not going to be taken. That they demand the release of nnamdi Kanu. Pardon our brother nnamdi Kanu now and forever. Listen attentively to what he stated, and when we come back, I'll exactly show you what the court has now declined over nnamdi Kanu's appeal.
Honorable Judge Ozodinobi, I represent the good people of Funjikoka and Ochadunukofia Federal Constituency. I'm from Anambra State. Mine is a short one. I want to speak to the sovereignty of this country, of which we have gradually lost. As a child, I can beat my chest today that I'll be one of the few here standing that saw war as a child. Our brother has been jailed for life, and the judge who jailed him saw before him what you are distracting me. The judge who jailed him, or Motosho, saw things before him that made him to jail him for life. Good enough. But Mr. President has the greatest opportunity now. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a lawmaker. I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not a judge. I'm a lawmaker. What I am saying today, that Mr. President
Leader, please.
Mr. President today has the greatest opportunity as a very courageous person, that today I know that
Point of order.
the counsels to Mazi Kalu Nwankwo has not gone for appeal. We are not appealing today. We are demanding today that within the ambits of law of these 90 days, he has not gone to court. For Mr. President to give him a pardon and release Nnamdi Kanu to us.
Welcome back. I believe we've listened attentively to this particular lawmaker, Honorable Ozodinobi, who is utterly telling Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the federal government as a lawmaker that the insecurity in Nigeria is much, and as a matter of fact that they demand the release of nnamdi Kanu, pardon our brother nnamdi Kanu, and hand him over to us. What sovereignty are we protecting in Nigeria when terrorists have taken over our country? This is a lawmaker. Now, you're going to see that if particularly all southeastern lawmakers begin to speak just at the same way and the same vein this particular lawmaker is speaking, you will now understand that nnamdi Kanu will definitely be released, because at this point in time, this particular frustration and transferring him to Sokoto to make sure you frustrate his appeal elapsing under the 90 days is now exactly what is questionable. Now, Aloy Jimako, as you could see on your screen, recently came out that this is a summons to nnamdi Kanu's, to to be present on November 28th at Federal High Court Abuja for settlement of records. A lot of persons who are curious and inquisitive and probably don't know what the settlement of record means is that for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to appear before the court to make documentation and processes of making sure that his appeal is well written, for the appeal to be filed before the November 20th judgment, a production warrant is required for the Sokoto prison to bring him to Abuja, but the court refused to issue it. Look at the letter that Aloy Ejimakor and other lawyers of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu issued. Remember, the consequences of not appealing this judgment is the fact that if he's not appealed within that 90 days intervals, it will now be bedded that what Justice James Omotosho had issued is now the final judgment, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be compelled to stay in that life imprisonment with that. Now, appealing that judgment will also be favorable to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because another court can actually thwart and bring down and step down that particular judgment issued by Justice James Omotosho. Now, in full details, Abuja court declines order to produce Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for appeal record settlement. Lawyer cries out. That is what Aloy Ejimakor stated, that why is it that the court had now declined Mazi Nnamdi Kanu appeal and declined Mazi Nnamdi Kanu freelance to come and appeal that judgment, because that particular court order they have is to issue that particular court prison in Abuja, in Sokoto, so that they will now allow Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to file his appeal. Barrister Aloy Ejimakor, special counsel to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has raised an alarm over the refusal of a federal high court in Abuja to issue what we call a production warrant needed to ensure Kanu's presence in the court for the settlement of records in an appeal filed before he was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. We all know that Kanu was sentenced on the November 20th, 2025. According to him, the summons scheduled Kanu to appear before the Federal High Court on November 28th for the settlement of records relating to an appeal he filed prior to the court's judgment delivered on November 20th. This is exactly what is happening. And a lot of persons need to understand this thing. They need to understand this thing, that this particular filed document will help Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to file his appeal. And a production warrant is required for the Sokoto prison to bring him to Abuja, but the court refused to issue it because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu presence is needed in this particular appeal for it to move smoothly and documented according to the law. But now the court has refused to issue and order the Sokoto prison for them to bring Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to that particular Abuja appeal court for that appeal. The lawyer expressed shock that despite issuing the summons, the court declined to grant the production warrant, a mandatory order that authorizes prison authorities to convey an inmate from detention to the courtroom. Without it, Aloy Ejimakor warned that Kanu cannot be physically present for the court proceedings, potentially undermining his right to a fair hearing and due process. Aloy Ejimakor had raised concerns that transferring Kanu to a correctional facility in Sokoto, hundreds of kilometers from Abuja, posed a serious threat to his right and ability to file and pursue an appeal in this case. And that is what it's now stating. Speaking on Channels Television morning briefing program, Aloy Ejimakor warned that Kanu's constitutional rights under Section 36 of 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria were now at risk. Aloy Ejimakor stressed that the appeal process required immediate and detailed action that were impossible to execute without close access to the relevant courts and legal support. Aloy Ejimakor said the legal community and observers were stunned to learn that Kanu was moved from Abuja to a prison in Sokoto shortly after his sentencing. He questioned how Kanu could meet the strict procedural demands required to initiate an appeal. Aloy Ejimakor argued that several facilities closer to Abuja, such as Suleja and Kefi, would have been better preserved Kanu's access to legal assistance and family members. He warned that Kanu's ability to pursue an appeal was being complicated by the current location of his imprisonment. This is exactly what is now happening. You could see the frustration and you could see what is happening. Now, when you look at these things, you understand that they are trying to make sure that Kanu feels in all means not to appeal that particular judgment, because they know that Justice James Omotosho's judgment is bedded on repealed law. So if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu goes on appeal to another higher court, definitely he's going to get his victory and he's going to come out victorious. That is why you see this particular thing and these gimmicks they are playing. Since this is what is happening, why are you frustrating a man you have sentenced? You don't want to allow him to file an appeal. You're frustrating his appeal and you have kept him miles away from where he's going to appeal. As a matter of fact, all the courts in Sokoto State cannot and do not have the jurisdiction to even for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to appeal that particular judgment. He's going to do it in Abuja. Look at the distance from Abuja to Sokoto. When you have the environs of other prisons close to Abuja, but you want to frustrate it. Now that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers are trying written to the court that they should give a production warrant to that particular court, to that particular prison in Sokoto, so that they will make Mazi Nnamdi Kanu avail to Abuja. The court had declined it. Now, what is the fate of a common man? If the court is the last of a common man, what is the fate of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu with what has just been issued to him? That is what is now very, very alarming. I decided to bring this to your view. What is your take on this and how they have actually frustrated Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? That is the more reason why this particular lawmaker had stated it clearly without any fear or favor that we demand the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you are the president of this particular country. Use your jurisdiction as a president enshrined in the constitution through that particular clemency and pardon, enshrined by your power to pardon our brother. He called Mazi Nnamdi Kanu our brother and hand him over to us. That what sovereignty are we protecting in Nigeria when bandits are actually having peace deals, unaliving a lot of persons, doing a lot of things in this particular country, and you have not stated anything, but rather taking over our country? Then the insecurity is much. If every lawmaker is actually speaking just the same this way this man has spoke, definitely things will fall out well for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Look at the frustration. He went further to even say that we are appealing. We are not appealing. We are demanding the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who was unjustly sentenced for life while terrorists operate freely in Nigeria. Hand over our brother to us. This is an order that has just been issued. Now, immediately Bola Ahmed Tinubu has seen this order. That is why you could see clearly that an order has just been issued for him to make sure he release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. What is your take towards this particular thing and every frustration Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is facing on this appeal? React on the comment section positively. If this is your first time meeting this channel, do it often and always hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell and click on the like button so let's get informations promptly when we drop them here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to often and always pray for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's freedom in the comment section. Type freedom for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.